Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. It's Tuesday, December 8th. Thanks for choosing to be here to get filled in on our top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And I gotta say, how about that Steelers game last night? If you had a chance to watch it, I didn't get to watch all of it, but I caught the fourth quarter, and it was quite the show from the Washington football team. The Steelers ending up losing to the Washington football team by a score of 23-17. And it was a great fourth quarter. And that's a big surprise for a lot of people. And what that means for the Cleveland Browns is now they go from a 1% chance of winning the AFC North to a 5% chance of winning the AFC North, which this is according to 538, by the way. And hey, they're saying there's a chance, right? That would mean more than just an appearance in the playoffs for the Cleveland Browns. That would mean a home playoff game. And if you want to know all the possible ways that could actually happen, our 3 News sports analyst Ben Axelrod breaks it all down on WKYC.com. There are lots of different possibilities in order to make that happen, so you'll want to check that out. That's also on the WKYC app. A little more news from the Cleveland Browns today, though. Guard Wyatt Teller has been placed on the COVID-19 list. So that means he'll now be required to pass the appropriate number of COVID-19 tests before he can rejoin the team if he is to be activated for next week's game, which is Monday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. This means that Teller could have even tested positive for COVID-19, or he could have been in close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID-19. Now, earlier this season, Teller was out because he missed 3 games as a result of a calf strain. So, fingers crossed everything is okay with Teller, and hopefully he'll be back on the field again on Monday, but only time will tell there. Now, we do have some relatively breaking news related to college football. The Ohio State versus Michigan game has been canceled due to a COVID-19 outbreak. It was Michigan that canceled Saturday's game against now ranked number 4 Ohio State due to a COVID-19 outbreak in Michigan's program. Michigan's director of athletics, Ward Manuel, said in a statement that the number of positive cases on the team and among the people involved with the team just keeps going up, and they haven't been cleared to participate in practice right now, and they won't be able to field a team due to COVID-19 positives and associated quarantining required of close contacts with individuals who have tested positive for COVID-19. He went on to say that this is disappointing for the team and coaches, but their health and safety is paramount, and it will always come first in their decision making. Now, this is the second game in 2 weeks that the Wolverines have had to cancel. They didn't play against Maryland last week due to a COVID-19 outbreak at Michigan again last week. And poor Maryland in all of this, by the way. Ohio State canceled their game against Maryland 2 weeks ago because of an Ohio State COVID outbreak. That was when head coach Ryan Day and several players tested positive for COVID-19. The Buckeyes were, however, back on the field last week to beat Michigan State and improve their record to 5-0 and now sitting at number 4 in the college football playoff rankings. And it was looking good for Ohio State to potentially participate in the Big Ten Conference Championship game and a playoff bid. But with this cancellation, Ohio State will now finish its regular season playing only 5 games. What does that mean? Well, under the Big Ten's current rules, teams have to play at least 6 regular season games in order to qualify for the Big Ten Championship, which is happening on December 19th. So I talked with our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod, over Slack, and I asked him, do you have to win a conference title in order to make the college football playoffs? He told me not necessarily, but that is usually the case, and it would be tough for Ohio State to make it having played only 5 games. So that remains to be seen. There has been some talk of potential changes to the Big Ten Conference Championship game rules, but nothing has been said about that. Nothing definitely set in stone. And right now, the way the rules stand, the Buckeyes not eligible for the Big Ten Conference Championship game. Now let's take a look at the latest numbers of COVID-19 coming in from Ohio. And remember what we said yesterday. This number is very high because the state has cleared a backlog of almost 13,000 cases because they were waiting on confirmation because these cases had been positive cases with antigen tests. Those are the rapid COVID tests. So now that backlog has been cleared, and because of that, today the state of Ohio is reporting 25,721 additional COVID-19 cases to the total amount of COVID-19 cases in the state of Ohio. So again, That number including that backlog of antigen tests, which not all of them were confirmed as positive, but there was a backlog of 12,600 of those rapid tests that need to be cleared, and that's included in that number, that huge number of 25,721. The latest positive rate that we have does still date back to Saturday. So for the 7-day average, 15.9% of COVID tests coming in positive, and the latest daily number that we have is 14.7%. That's also from Saturday. Here's numbers that don't have anything to do with those backlogs of those antigen tests. 81 people have been reported to have died related to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Those reports had come in, and 657 new people have been hospitalized related to COVID-19. Right now, there are 5,181 people in the hospital being treated with COVID. That's 60 more people in the hospital than there were yesterday. And right now, there are 1,210 people in the ICU being treated with COVID. That's 47 more people in the ICU than we saw in Ohio yesterday, and 67 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours. Again, that number is going to vary from the more people in the ICU because there are people being discharged as well as being admitted when we take a look at that total number in the ICU. And looking at the number of hospital beds that are available right now in the state of Ohio, that number is at 25% right now. But again, remember, those medical experts have been cautioning us whether there are hospital beds available is one thing. It's one thing to just set up a makeshift ICU somewhere. It's quite another to have the medical personnel available to staff those places. And we do know that there is a large number of medical staff who have been impacted by COVID-19, and that is what the experts are saying due to community spread. So keep that in mind, something we need to think about when we're out and about, making sure we're wearing those masks and practicing those safe physical distancing protocols. Now let's take a look at the global and the national COVID-19 numbers. These numbers come from Johns Hopkins University. And here in the U.S., we are now over 15 million cases of COVID-19, with 15,019,092 cases reported. And the total number of deaths in the U.S. is now at 284,887. The number of cases that we have in comparison to the global number of cases, that percent keeps ticking up ever so slightly. We are now at 22.1% of the global COVID cases. Keep in mind, we only have 4% of the global population. And the total number of global deaths, that percentage that we have here in the U.S. is 18.4%. Globally, COVID cases are now almost at 68 million. That's 67,916,341. And the total number of deaths globally is now at 1,551,120. Now, as we anxiously await approval of COVID-19 vaccines here in the U.S., the FDA, of course, scheduled to look at that in a hearing on Thursday, the White House is coming under scrutiny for failing to lock in a chance to buy millions of additional doses of COVID vaccine from Pfizer. Now, the worry here is this could delay the delivery of a second batch of doses until the manufacturer Pfizer fulfills other international contracts. Under its contract with Pfizer, the Trump administration committed to buying an additional $100 million doses, an initial $100 million dose, 100 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine. That's enough for 50 million Americans, and there was an option to purchase as many as 5 times more. But this summer, the White House opted not to lock in an additional 100 million doses for delivery in the second quarter of 2021. So what you're looking at there is April, May, and June. This is according to people who spoke on the condition of remaining anonymous because they weren't authorized to talk about this publicly. Well, Pfizer has now told the Trump administration that additional doses of the vaccine won't be available until June or July because of plans already made with other countries that are willing to buy its vaccine supply. This is according to the Washington Post. So we will have to see how this plays out, but just taking a look at what was said right there, June is in the second quarter. July is in the third quarter. So we'll have to wait and see if this actually creates a delay in additional Americans getting vaccinated. Now, the Trump administration insists that between Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines and others that are in the pipeline, that the U.S. will be able to accommodate any American who wants to be vaccinated by the end of the second quarter of 2021. And remember, again, when we're talking about quarters, the second quarter is April, May, and June. So the Trump administration saying people who want a vaccine will be able to get it by the end of June 2021. This is something that the Trump administration will be talking about today as they hold a summit this afternoon called the Operation Warp Speed Summit, which you can also find streaming on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Now, emergency approval by the FDA, again, waiting on that here in Ohio. There's going to be a hearing on Thursday, and if all things move forward, then of course we'll expect to see those vaccines rolling out here in the US. But across the UK, the vaccine has already been given. It has been given to 90-year-old Margaret Keenan, and she was greeted today as she was the first person to receive the COVID-19 vaccine in the UK. This is the vaccine by Pfizer. So the National Health Service in the UK tweeted video of that out today. Here's what Margaret said. Margaret said that she feels so privileged to be the first person vaccinated against COVID-19. She says it's the best early birthday present she could wish for because it means she can finally look forward to spending time with family and friends in the new year after being on her own for most of the year. So congratulations to Margaret and the people who are able to receive that vaccine in the UK. And again, we'll know more on Thursday about whether those timetables that we've been anticipating will be able to carry out here in the US. Our Verify team has taken a look at a very interesting post on social media that claims that the COVID-19 vaccine could cause infertility in women. Here's what the Verify team found about this post. This is a Facebook post that says a head researcher for Pfizer, the vaccine manufacturer, issued a warning that the company's new COVID-19 vaccine could cause sterilization in women. The researcher mentioned in the post, his name is Michael Yeardon. He does not currently work for Pfizer. Yeardon's LinkedIn says he worked for the company until 2011 in the Allergy and Respiratory Research Unit. That's according to his LinkedIn profile. Pfizer would not comment to the Verify team when asked to verify Yeardon's past employment, by the way. But Yeardon and a German doctor named Wolfgang Wodardt sent a petition to the European Medicines Agency, this is called the EMA, seeking to stop clinical trials of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. And they said that the vaccine might do this. The vaccine might block a protein that is crucial to forming the placenta. The placenta is something that grows inside a woman's uterus when she's pregnant, and the placenta is what gets oxygen and nutrients to the growing fetus. So the doctors claim this protein that could be blocked and could potentially impact the growing of a placenta would then result in vaccinated women eventually becoming infertile. The petition raises the questions about it might be possible using phrases like, if the vaccine works in a certain way, it could lead to infertility. But the Verify team says that to date, there's no evidence, no study, and no reports to support that claim. At the same time, it is fair to point out that the vaccine is very new and there aren't any studies looking at the long-term impacts on human fertility, and Pfizer right now is not commenting on the issue at all. But here are other important things to note. The social media site that first helped move this claim around about infertility is a blog called Health and Money News, and the news, which is a term that I use very loosely, on that site is full of disproven COVID-19 conspiracy theories, such as COVID-19 not being real and the fact that wearing masks can cause irreversible brain damage. I think we've all been wearing masks long enough to know that that is certainly not the case. And the two doctors who are raising these concerns about the Pfizer vaccine both have a history of peddling false information about COVID-19. So that's what we know about that social media post. And if you want to read that back, that's on WKYC.com and also our WKYC app. I have an update for you about the human trafficking sting near Youngstown yesterday where 14 men were arrested. One of those men is reportedly a Major League Baseball umpire. This is according to Fox News and TMZ. The person is named Brian Onora, 57 years old, and has been charged with solicitation, which is a third-degree misdemeanor, and possessing criminal tools, which is a first-degree misdemeanor. Now, yesterday, when this sting was announced, Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost said that these John stings, because these people who were charged in this sting have been charged with trying to pay for sex over the internet, what they do is they seek to deter purchasing of sex and reduce the demand for human trafficking, and serve as a reminder that these crimes are more prevalent and closer to home than you might think. And if you want to see the full list of the people who have been charged in that sting near Youngstown, we've got that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. One more thing before we let you go here today. Yesterday, we talked about Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield trolling reporters with pop culture references and how on Sunday, after Sunday's game, he quoted Dwight from The Office. almost word for word. And he just slides these quotes in there very casually. You wouldn't necessarily pick up on it if you weren't aware of what he was doing, but you might just think he sounds a little bit weird because he's saying things like stop, drop, shut him down, open up shop from the DMX song Rough Riders Anthem. Well, we've got a full list of all of the pop culture reference that he's made so far. Quotes from Lil Wayne, quotes from Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, quotes from Snoop Dogg, even the Holiday Inn Express commercial. So that's up on WKYC.com if you want to check that out as well. That's it for your 3 News Now update for Tuesday, December 8th. I'll see you next up on What's New in the Clicking in Cleveland segment with your trending stories. Also, a reminder, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, go ahead and subscribe to this podcast. And I have another podcast with WKYC Studios. It's called 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney. And this week, the topic is how to deal with loneliness during the pandemic. I have a great guest. It's Cleveland Clinic psychologist, Dr. Adam Borland. So take a look at that. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review it. Share it with your friends. Next week, we're talking about dating in the pandemic, so that's definitely going to be a good one. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Stay safe and be well. I'll see you back here tomorrow. I'm Stephanie Haney.